Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we have Alight Calm Storm from Fire Emblem Fates. I don't really know anything about the Fire Emblem series. It was nothing I really ever got into. I know like the world and how it looks and feels. I know like that general info, but I've never dove into it. So as is the case with a lot of stuff I get to on this channel, I'm going into this completely blind with my expectations or how the sound would even kind of be, except for the vague idea of the general world and how it looks. So that could be anything, and I'm really not sure what I'm going to hear, but Thrasian really wanted me to listen to this, so I guess without further ado, let's go! Alright. That's roughly what I expected. Oh, wait a minute. It's got more of Asia in there than I thought. Okay. Yeah. This is like the Japanese Western fantasy hybrid that you hear in a lot of anime. Beautiful sound, though. I've always loved OSTs like this. And I always love listening to it because I'm never sure where it's gonna end up, you know? Is that like a synth back there? It's kind of doing these slides and dives. I suppose that could be a stringed instrument of some sort, but... right there. That one. Kind of a harsh tone. But I like that it's nestled back in there. It doesn't take up too much room. There's the build-up. It always happens. There's always a build-up. Okay. Now we're really getting into the battle or whatever. This is the evolution. It starts off so relatively calm. Yeah. There's that big energy, that big triumphant sound. The hero's theme, you know? A little bit of a break here. The 1v1 section, if you will. Bringing in that prior theme from the beginning and tying it into the new instruments introduced. Now blending them both together. Beautiful. Love the harp inclusion too. Always nice to hear a harp. Oh, we're going up again. What is this, the third or fourth key change? Just keeps shifting it up a little bit more. Milk more energy out of it. Now we're getting to the end. I can feel it. You reach the apex like that and you know that they're gonna have to either end on a high note or feather it out like this. Let it calm back down. Especially if it's a loop. Gotta reintroduce that calmer energy before coming back into it. That was better than I expected, honestly. Although I did expect a pretty good soundtrack from a series that I know is insanely popular, I still love that, and I love all the approaches that they went for here. So I just looked at the description to find out that it was actually the uploader here who mixed the calm and the storm versions, or like the calm and the more energetic version of the same theme into one upload here, and that's why it had that big crescendo in the middle, and I love that. But I also love how that was so easily done. Like the fact that the calm version of the song so naturally progresses into that more aggressive storm version, that just goes to show how great the composers are, but also the editor did a great job at just popping those two together and really sending that home at a perfect transitional point too. They really understood the assignment there and they did a great job. But again, I'll talk about how I love the blend of sounds here. Like I kind of mentioned, this is sort of Japan's idea of like fantasy western, like kind of pseudo mystical and medieval in a way. Like it's just kind of an amalgamation of like different sounds. You have like certain pentatonic things that are really popular in Asian music, and then more traditional sounds from the western side of things that make it sound like it's coming out of some vague, ambiguous idea of what like fantasy medieval times would be. And I do love that. I've heard it in plenty of anime in my time and plenty of games. Even games like Legend of Zelda have touched on this a little bit in different ways, and of course you're going to get it in stuff like this where that's kind of the general theme from what I've been able to see. But in general, I do love that blend as well. It is such a cool tone to have multiple influences from across the world be put into one song, and that's one of my favorite things that I hear in video games a lot, is when you're making fantasy worlds like this, it's kind of the go-to to blend these sorts of sounds and get multiple influences from around the world, just because you don't really have a specific location you want this to be in. You want it to sound familiar, but somehow just a little bit more original. But also for those in the Western audience, it's going to sound familiar to them because it's going to have these more like Northern European kind of influences and roots in their own ways. But taking all those sounds and blending them together to a place that doesn't exist is always going to be a time-tested approach to doing music. If you want to create an original sound for your world, borrow things from different places around the world. Stuff that's kind of similar or from the locations you're trying to base your world on, roughly. Like, I know that this is going for that sort of fantastical Western look and feel. You have knights and shining armor and that whole thing, dragons and magic and etc. That's very Western fantasy. So when you want to go for that sound, you want to borrow from those parts of the world, go for it. But then throw in stuff from other parts of the world that wouldn't really have that. Like, borrow from Africa a little bit, borrow from South America, borrow from like the Western US. Genshin Impact has done that a lot in their music, and just blending all of these sounds together to create different parts of the world that are based on these real locations, but are also kind of just amalgamations of all those cultures. And that's the perfect way to do that. You want to be able to make it sound familiar, but also original enough that it has its own identity. I love that half the time I could see myself climbing a mountain with a torii gate on it and getting ready to get to the top, only to look out and see a Western style castle in the middle of this ravine at the very top of that mountain and going, huh, what? You know, like, and just kind of processing those worlds colliding. But that's perfect. That's exactly what we need here. But then doing that sort of influence, you have to kind of look at the world that you're making and the instruments in the real world and those locations and go, okay, what can I blend together that would still sound good, but also not quite what you would expect out of just a single one of these locations? How do you balance those instruments to blend together, but also utilize their full potential as an instrument? So like instead of using a guzheng like they didn't use, that's a Chinese stringed instrument, you could also use a kodo or something if you're looking for something more local to Japan, very similar there. Instead, they decided to use a harp. But then instead of Western style flutes, you have a lot of what sounds like, at least to me, wooden style flutes, probably bamboo flutes, or even penny flutes could have been in here, like tin flutes, the smaller stuff, and that would have been more Western for tin flutes, but then wooden flutes are much more of a thing in Asia and then like South America. So like there's that blend. You can take all these instruments that are kind of similar, but then blend them and swap them out for other things in order to make the sound more unique to the location that you're making, rather than sounding too Japanese or too Western, you know? Like you don't want to sound too much like you're coming from northern Scotland, but also you don't want to sound like you're coming from the very core of Hokkaido either. Like you want to be able to find a very good blend of those, and swapping those instruments between and finding that balance is how you do this. As for the tonal qualities of the song, I mean, it's a beautiful song. I don't know what else to tell you. It's got a great triumphant sound to it, exactly what I expected. The calm version, obviously much more calm. The storm version, much more like a storm. It's like an active battle compared to the calm before the storm. Like you're sitting there on the mountainside, you know, the grass around you, things are beautiful. You're taking kind of a breather. Maybe you just got done with a battle, anything in that realm. But then when it picks up, it's like, oh, here we go, now we're fighting. And you have that exact energy exchange between the both of them. And again, the editor did a great job at blending those together. They did a fantastic job at that. But just feeling the separate energy between them, you can really place yourself into the moment of when these songs would be played and what the context is in those moments. But I think the best word that describes the vibe I was getting out of this song for both versions is just hope. Because in the slow version, in the calm version, there's this hope that this piece will sustain, that no matter what happens, this calm that is here right now will be there forever. But then when it picks up, there's this hope that you will win in order to retain that prior calm. And there's just a constant energy there of hope and being able to finish off what was started. Even if there's nothing going on, like in that calm version, it's still a goal to keep that around. And you figure with a title like Alight, it kind of spells itself out there too, because Alight, a light at the end of the tunnel, that's hope. That might be going for the most common denominator there, the most obvious choice there, but I'm pretty sure that's the feeling they're going for because of how the song sounded. It just fits too well for me. The fact that this song has that hopeful energy to it, no matter what energy you're trying to put out, whether it's calm or storm, you're getting this feeling that somebody's fighting for something and there is a goal to it, and that goal is peace. There's a hope for a finality to this, and I think they did a really good job at personifying that in the song too. So I really don't have any complaints about this song in any way, shape, or form. Not that I usually have complaints about songs, but this one especially, I just love the way it sounds. I'm still kind of wondering if that was like a flute that was that harsh tone I was talking about during the reaction, or if it was like a synth that they were utilizing, because it sounds kind of familiar, but it was also subtle and back far enough in the mix that I couldn't quite tell what it was, but it was a nice texture. It allowed itself to just kind of dive out of the way, and whenever it showed up, it dove out of the way. So it did its thing, kind of got in there, it filled a certain range of that soundscape, and it just took up its space and then got the hell out. Those are certain things in sound design and composition that I'm always like, how did they think of that? How did they think to include that specific sound, to get it in there, get it out of there, to take up just that little tiny portion of space? It's like, if that wasn't there, I might not have never noticed, but the fact that it is in there and I did notice means it's doing its job somehow. I just wish I was good enough to know what and why. But I think I've yapped enough about this one. This video is probably insanely long, so thank you all so very much for watching. Thank you, Thracian, for throwing this into the queue. It was a really interesting sound to hear this. I don't think I've ever listened to a song that had this sort of profile to it, at least on this channel, so it's kind of cool to be able to do that and think about it in this sort of analytical way. So so thank you very much. And if anybody else has anything that they want to request, by all means, drop it in the comments below. Or if you want to guarantee a request, you can go to my Patreon or my YouTube memberships. There are tiers that will force me and guarantee a request from me, no matter what the song is. That's how Thrasking got this one, and how you can get your own. But either way, if you like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!